Have you ever made what seemed like a tiny mistake, only to have it follow you years down the road? As we grow older, the choices we've made, whether small or big, tend to echo more loudly in our lives. The routines we cling to, the things we avoid, and how we treat ourselves all add up. Something that felt harmless in our 50s or 60s can quietly shape the quality of our happiness in later years. In this video, we're exploring 8 surprisingly common missteps older adults often make without realizing just how much harm they can cause. These aren't the usual warnings you hear all the time. They're the subtle habits and overlooked decisions that gradually wear down your health, your relationships, and your inner peace. Stick with me until the very end, because even recognizing just one of these mistakes early on could save you years of regret and open the door to a stronger, more joyful future. Let's begin. 1. Pulling away from social connections. One of the most damaging yet unnoticed habits in later life is letting your social circle shrink. Retirement comes. Children move out, friends pass away or become less mobile. And before long, the once busy calendar is nearly empty. What starts as a couple of quiet weekends can slowly stretch into months of solitude. The scary part? Many older adults don't even notice until loneliness has already set in. And loneliness is not just an emotion, it's a real health risk. Research shows that ongoing loneliness can increase the likelihood of depression, memory decline, heart disease, and even shorten life expectancy. Yet often begins so subtly, with one misgathering, one unreturned call. There's rarely a loud warning sign shouting, "You're becoming isolated." It sneaks in disguised as independence or just resting. Humans are wired for connection at every age. Friendships are not just for the young. In fact, they're even more important in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Take Elliot, an 82-year-old who once played cards every weekend with neighbors. After a minor fall, he stayed home for a few weeks, which turned into months. Eventually, the phone stopped ringing. He told himself he enjoyed the peace and quiet, but deep down, he missed the laughter, the playful banter, and the feeling of being remembered. He wasn't miserable, but he wasn't truly living either. The truth is, you don't need a large crowd. One phone call, one lunch a week, or a simple book club can bring life back to your days. Sometimes the bravest act isn't facing illness. It's picking up a phone and saying, "I was thinking of you." There's no age limit on friendship and no expiration date on the need to be seen, heard, and valued. If you withdraw not out of choice but out of habit, it's never too late to step back into connection. Because when we stop reaching out, we don't just lose others. We lose parts of ourselves. 2. Ignoring health until a crisis hits. Another trap many older adults fall into is putting health off until it's almost too late. Skipping yearly checkups, brushing aside screenings, or dismissing nagging aches as just part of aging can turn simple, manageable issues into life-changing problems. How many times have you heard someone say, "I wish I had gone to the doctor sooner"? That small pain in the knee could develop into limited mobility. That shortness of breath might be the first warning of heart trouble. Even poor dental care can trigger infections that spread throughout the body. These issues rarely erupt overnight. They build slowly, quietly, and by the time they force attention, it's often much harder to reverse the damage. But staying healthy isn't just about doctor visits. It's also about daily habits. Seniors who stay active, eat nourishing meals, and prioritize sleep often find they not only feel better physically, but also more alive emotionally. It's not about trying to be young again. It's about preserving strength, balance, and energy for the years ahead. Think about Lillian, a 74-year-old who brushed all her doctor's advice to keep moving. She felt fine, so she didn't bother. But over time, her muscles weakened, her balance declined, and one simple stumble over a rug left her with a fractured hip. Recovery was long and painful. She often said she wished she had listened earlier, and her story is far from rare. Taking health seriously doesn't mean living in fear. It means respecting your body enough to respond to its signals. A daily walk, light stretching, staying hydrated, keeping up with screenings. These aren't luxuries. They're investments in your independence and freedom. If you're finding these lessons helpful so far, drop the number 2 in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit subscribe with the bell so you don't miss future videos. Your support helps us create more content to encourage and inspire you. 3. Carrying grudges into old age. A mistake that quietly robs many seniors of peace is holding on to anger or resentment from years past. Maybe someone betrayed your trust, a harsh word from a sibling never healed, or a long-ago misunderstanding grew into silence. The specifics vary, but the result is the same: bitterness that lingers long after the moment has ended. Many people assume growing older automatically brings wisdom and peace. But the truth is, time alone doesn't heal wounds. It just gives us more years to carry them if we refuse to let go. And carrying anger is exhausting. It drains joy, clouds the present, and can even weigh on the body, leaving you feeling heavy and tired. As the old saying goes, holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. The reality? They may not even remember what happened. But every time you replay it in your mind, your nervous system relives it too, raising blood pressure, tightening muscles, stealing your calm. Consider Franklin, a 78-year-old retired principal who hadn't spoken to his brother in over 30 years. The rift began over an inheritance and grew into silence. Every Thanksgiving, Franklin would shrug, "He knows where I live." But deep inside, Franklin was the one suffering. Not because of the fight, but because his pride locked the door shut. Often in quiet moments, he wondered what might have changed if he had just made that call. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending the hurt didn't happen or agreeing with what was done. It means choosing your peace of mind over being right. Your later years are too precious to waste carrying old pain. You don't have to tell the person. You don't even need to speak to them again. But you can choose today to release the weight. Because when you let go, you open yourself to peace, lightness, and freedom you might not even realize you were missing. And you deserve that not someday, but now. 4. Losing a sense of purpose. Another silent mistake many fall into is drifting through retirement without something meaningful to live for. When work ends, the kids are independent and routines slow down. It's easy at first to enjoy the quiet. But over time, that quiet can turn into emptiness. Purpose isn't just for the young or ambitious. It's what gives life direction at any age. Without it, days blur, mornings feel aimless, and evenings drag on. Rest is important, but too much rest can feel less like living and more like waiting. And here's the truth. Purpose doesn't have to be huge. It's not always writing a book or traveling the world. Sometimes it's the smaller things. Teaching a grandchild to garden, checking on a lonely neighbor, organizing family photos, or sharing wisdom through stories. The real question is, what makes me feel useful, needed, and alive? Ruth, age 76, discovered this firsthand. After retiring from her job as a librarian, she spent months watching TV and eating lunch alone. She told herself she was resting, but deep down, something felt missing. Then she joined a local program, reading to children once a week. Just 30 minutes of story time brought back joy, energy, and connection. Purpose doesn't need to be grand. It just needs to be yours. When you claim it, life shifts from counting the days to making each day count. If you're still here, comment number 4 below. And don't forget to subscribe with the bell so you don't miss new videos. Your support allows us to keep creating inspiring content. 5. Refusing to ask for help. A quiet form of suffering many older adults endure isn't caused by illness or money struggles, but by pride. One of the most common mistakes in later life is resisting help, even when it's desperately needed. We're taught to see independence as strength, and independence is valuable. But sometimes isolation masquerades as independence, slowly creating unnecessary struggle. Many seniors would rather bear hardship in silence than admit they need support. Whether it's struggling to reach something on a high shelf, keeping track of medications, figuring out new technology, or coping with grief and sadness, many older adults quietly fear that asking for help makes them look weak. But in reality, reaching out for help is one of the bravest things you can do. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you value your well-being enough to take action. Take Gregory, for example. He was 79 and living alone after his wife passed away. He took great pride in being independent. But over time, he started skipping meals, forgetting to pay bills, and leaving messages from his doctor unanswered. His daughter didn't discover the situation until months later, when she visited and found piles of unopened mail. Gregory hadn't wanted to trouble anyone. He didn't want to admit that grief and daily responsibilities had become too heavy. Yet, once he finally let others step in, his life began to feel lighter again. Asking for help doesn't strip away your independence. In fact, it's often the very thing that allows you to keep control of your life. It's a reminder that we aren't meant to live entirely on our own. We are built for community, for shared support, not silent struggle. Help can be as simple as asking a neighbor to set up your phone, telling family members you like more check-ins, or reaching out to a counselor or support group when life feels overwhelming. These actions are not signs of weakness. They are signs of wisdom. Everyone wants to be seen as capable. We all want to feel strong. But true strength shows up in knowing when it's time to lean on others. Not only for yourself, but so you can continue being present for the people who rely on you. 2. Life isn't about how long you can go without help. It's about how well you can live when you embrace it. 6. Clinging to the past and rejecting the present. One of the more harmful habits that can quietly shape later years is holding so tightly to the past that today feels disappointing by comparison. It usually begins innocently enough. Sharing old stories, singing along to favorite songs, or remembering how things used to be. There's nothing wrong with nostalgia. Fond memories can bring comfort, but when the past becomes the only lens through which you see the present, it can make today feel dull, empty, or unwelcome. We've all heard people say things like, "It was better back then," or "Nothing's the same anymore." While those thoughts might carry truth, living in them too often steals joy from the present moment. Take Marion, 81. She often told friends, "Back when I was young, people respected each other. These days, no one cares." Over time, she withdrew from community events, avoided younger neighbors, and spent more time alone. What she didn't see was that her longing for connection hadn't disappeared. The world had simply changed, and she had chosen not to adapt. The sadness that grows from comparing now to then builds walls between us and those around us, especially the younger generation. But when you choose to stay open to new music, new tools, new ideas, you not only keep your mind sharp, you keep your heart open. You don't have to let go of the past. Memories are treasures, but they shouldn't be the only thing that gives life meaning. There are still sunsets to watch, books to read, friends to laugh with, and new lessons to learn. The world may look different, but you still belong to it. You are not a visitor. You are part of it. When you embrace the present fully, you discover that purpose and joy have no expiration date. 7. Letting fear take the driver's seat. With age often comes caution. We've seen enough to know what can go wrong, and those lessons stay with us. But one of the most damaging mistakes older adults can make is allowing fear, instead of wisdom, to make their decisions. Fear of change, fear of falling, fear of embarrassment. A little caution is healthy, but too much creates invisible walls around your life. It usually starts with small things. Turning down an invitation because you don't know many people there. Avoiding a new hobby because you might not be good at it. Staying home instead of traveling because you worry about being uncomfortable. Skipping hard conversations about money or health because you're afraid of the answers. Over time, these small avoidances add up until fear is quietly shaping a life you never intended. Fear itself isn't the enemy, it's a signal. But it shouldn't be the one steering your choices. When it does, it steals the very things that make life worth living. Growth, connection, excitement, pride in trying something new. Emma, 72, always dreamed of painting, but told himself he was too old to start. Deep down, he was afraid. Afraid he'd look silly. Afraid his work wouldn't measure up. It wasn't until his granddaughter gifted him a watercolor set and asked, "Grandpa, will you paint with me?" that he gave it a try. What he found wasn't perfection or recognition, but joy. Pure joy. Fear tries to keep us safe, but too often it keeps us small. And shrinking your life in old age doesn't save you from regret, often guarantees it. So try the thing that makes you nervous. Ask the question. Step outside the cage. Because many times, what you fear most is the very thing that will expand your life. Avoiding the tough conversations. One of the quietest yet most harmful mistakes is refusing to talk about the big topics: death, money, and legacy. These conversations feel uncomfortable, maybe even frightening, but avoiding them doesn't make them disappear. It only leaves stress and confusion for the people you love. Some think, I don't want to be a burden, or I still have time. But preparing for the end of life isn't gloomy. It's an act of love. It's a way of leaving peace instead of problems, clarity instead of conflict. That means updating your will, letting family know where important documents are, sharing your wishes for health care, and choosing who will handle things if you can't. These aren't just legal details. They are emotional gifts. They tell your loved ones, I care enough to make this easier for you. Consider Grace, 84, who always brushed off the topic with her children, saying, don't worry about it. When a sudden stroke left her unable to communicate, her family was left scrambling. No one knew what she wanted, and decisions had to be made in the middle of grief. The silence left pain instead of peace. Contrast that with Desmond, 79. He sat with his sons one weekend and walked them through everything. Not just the paperwork, but his wishes, his thoughts, even the song he wanted at his funeral. It wasn't easy, but it brought them closer. 2 years later, when he passed, his family knew exactly what to do. They grieved with certainty, not confusion. Having these talks doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're taking charge. It means you're living with intention, even in planning the last chapter. And it allows you to shape your legacy, not just through money, but through clarity, values, and love. You've lived a full life. You've earned a right to guide how it's honored and remembered. Don't leave that to chance. Speak up. Write it down. Share your wishes. That gift of clarity is something your loved ones will treasure forever. As we close, reflect on the 8 common but often overlooked mistakes we've talked about. Which one struck you the most? Have you noticed these patterns in yourself or someone you love? Aging isn't about avoiding every misstep. It's about recognizing where we can still grow, shift, and improve. Even small changes today can create a more joyful, more connected tomorrow. So take just one lesson from this video and put it into practice this week. Maybe it's making that phone call, booking that checkup, or writing down your wishes. You don't have to change everything overnight. Just begin. Thank you for spending this time with us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how you'll apply in your life. Your comments inspire us to keep going. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to Elderly Health Tips and share. Your support makes it possible for us to continue creating content that informs and uplifts. We appreciate you watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.